Okay, Phil, another good night tonight. Back-to-back home wins, 6 points from the last 2 games. You must be really pleased with that.
It is very pleasing. It's almost like the fruits of your labour, and you put training sessions in place probably in the first week. Players look at you and go, "What's he all about, this fella?" And I did that. I made a mistake when I first went into Kidderminster Harriers. I didn't change enough from getting just second balls, and I just tried to make the game a 50-50 game. But these players have got a lot more to them than meets the eye. I think as not just a second ball team. Given the situation that we're in, when we first came in, and you're bottom of the league and you're staring at oblivion for 6 months. Given that situation, I'm not saying we're out of it by any stretch of the imagination, but we've alleviated that kind of pressure. And there's certain players are really grabbing my attention with regards to not just getting the second ball, it's playing from that moment, and we're playing some decent stuff. I thought the first 25-30 minutes of the game was frenetic. It was high tempo. It was a battle. They were bang at it on the touchline, and on the pitch they were bang at it. And it was going to be a tough old gig. And when we got the first goal, and it was quickly followed by a lot of hear-em-scare-em moments up against us, and they got an equaliser and justly deserved. So we've gone in half-time 1-1, and it was about, I think it was more about second and third phase play. Because if we maintain that second and third phase, we mounted a lot of pressure on them and kept the ball in the final third with a lot of good quality. But in the first half, it was countering. It was coming straight back at us, and consequently, we were having a shot, they were having a shot, we were having a shot, they were having. That for me is not. It's not good football. It almost means that when we've got the ball, everybody wants to just play. You can't have that. You've got to have defenders who can defend. You've got to have defenders who are worried about, even though we've got the ball, they've got to be worried to a certain extent that if this changes hand, this is, you've got to be in the right place at the right time. We got the balance of that right in the second half, very much so. And consequently, Luca Miller ended up getting a brace in the second half and got a lot of breathing space. If the game had gone to 3-2, who knows what would have happened. But I think the game was more likely to go 4-1 than 3-2.
Yeah, indeed, and you mentioned about the ferocious pace. It was rough and tumble, wasn't it? That first half played at a ferocious pace. I thought the distribution from both keepers was excellent tonight, and that led to that sort of pace. But I also thought the passing was excellent, especially Elliot Whitehouse, who wore the captain's armband tonight.
He wore the captain's armband. I had a conversation. I had to have 5 or 6 conversations today. And it made life a little bit more. Listen, I've been involved in management for a long, long time. I've been involved in the game for a long, long time. But I'm getting to like the drama to a certain extent. The crisis comes along and you've got to deal with it. If you don't deal with it, you're in trouble. But you've got to remain calm, and you've got to understand that. Well, I've got to understand that I've got a good group of players, and it's not just 1 to 11. After the Darlington game, I just thought, wow, that was probably one of our strongest teams that had gone out there and were murdered 5-2, and then consequently you make changes for 2 home games. The first one, because of the Darlington result, I made changes. The second one, because I had to, Muzza limping out on Saturday, DJ limping out on Saturday, Jonesy hasn't had 2 games back to back for a long time, so I had to consider him. There was lots of people I had to consider, but the main one was, Anthony Stewart phoned me up and he's had an issue at home with the family, and consequently I get my first clean sheet and I've got to change the back 4, so I decided to change the system. And a lot of people might think I'm mental changing the system, but it worked. It worked because we had round pegs and round holes. That was the main thing.
Yeah, and that's one thing about the squad here, isn't it? There was gave chances, a chance for Shaq today, who got a start, and Kane Felix with a start as well, so it gives place to them. I think Shaq, he might well be disappointed that he hasn't got on the score sheet tonight, given that chance to start. But I thought he looked excellent up front.
Yeah, Shaq's he's not a complicated or complex lad. He likes the striker's role, and he wears it with pride. He wears the 9 with pride. He wears the 10 with pride. He plays in that area of the pitch where there's a lot of pressure on you, regardless of whether the centre half's kicking you. You've got to have that presence of mind to get the ball down and play and be creative and eventually get a goal. He had a couple of chances, but I think he's really trying too hard. And if I was going to give him any advice, which I have done, it would be to just remember the kind of player that you are. You know, he's a goal scorer that can put the ball in the back of the net. If not, he produces wonderful moments that nobody out there can actually replicate. You know, there's a couple of touches in the first half that was sublime, you know, and at this level you're not expecting that, but I do from Shaq, having worked with him before. You know, when you're at Southend and you're on loan from Spurs, I'm respecting that, you know, but I never forget the fact that he got to Spurs because of that quality, and long may that continue. But he provides that level of competition. Now Jones is getting himself together. Nearly went out on loan on Friday, ends up playing on Saturday in a 3-0 victory against Radcliffe. I had to rest him tonight, but he came on for 20-25 minutes and had a chance. And they'll come along because we've got players in the right position that are going to create chances. Ben Beresford going to get chances. You know, the people in the penalty box, and more importantly, you know, the likes of Luca Miller, Sam McClintock, and any attacking midfield players. Brownie scored a great goal today on his left foot. So it's coming, you know, it's coming slowly but surely. I'm not saying it's completely here and we're a transformed team and we're going to win the title. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm just thinking the players are just starting to breathe a little bit of life into the place, as opposed to panicking and being nervous about being bombed.
Indeed, and those 6 points over the past 3-4 days, whatever it's been, has taken us out of that bottom, and indeed 2 points clear of that bottom four. So it's starting to look good. And I know you're not going to entertain talk like this at all, but the fans will be thinking mid-table is only 2 points away.
I know. It's just about every game. When we cross the white line, we just got to represent ourselves to the best of our ability, and you wear the badge with pride. I think that's what we've done in the last couple of games. We threw muck at the badge or dirt at the badge at Darlington away. But having said that, we might have caught Darlington at the wrong time. You know, things like that happen in football, where you've just got beaten in the FA Trophy, and you've had a tongue lashing from the manager, and they turn up against us, and you know, before you know it's 4-1 at half time, and I'm praying for floodlights failure. It's just not going to happen. You know what, my whole remit at this moment in time is to breathe life into these players so they can breathe life into the football club, and I think we're moving in the right direction, but we're not out of trouble by any stretch of the imagination.
So those 2 games then, 6 goals scored, just 1 against. That's excellent stuff again. And we've got to talk about the goals just a little bit, because once again, some excellent finishes tonight. We're scoring good goals, aren't we? Again,
I don't understand it. When we first arrived, I think the home form was in a sad state, you know, and I think somebody said to me after 4 games or 5 games at home, whatever it was, we not even had a shot on target. And I think that's just belief. I think that's just confidence. I think it saps it out. This game becomes horrible when you're losing week in and week out. And you've got to try, as a manager, you've got to try and believe in yourself, believe in the players. And listen, there's nothing wrong with the squad that I inherited. It was just that it was lacking belief. It was lacking confidence. It was lacking any kind of running power because of them reasons, you know. Consequently, we brought in 7 players, and it's added something to the squad, you know. I mean, I've got to get rid of 1 or 2 because, you know, I've got to say, you know, the chairman, the owner, he's putting his hand in his pocket. I've got one of the biggest squads in the league. Now that's down to a number of things, you know, but a change of management never helps that. But at the same time, I nearly lost Mark Jones. My decision, I nearly lost him on Friday because I thought Ben Beresford was here to replace Mark Jones. Wow. After Saturday, Mark Jones and Ben Beresford, what a partnership. Ben Beresford, Shaq Culthurst, what a partnership. Mark Jones, Shaq Culthurst, what a partnership. And that's without even mentioning Max Booth and Theo Williams, you know. So, listen, we will score goals, and if we don't score goals, we'll create problems for the opposition. I've got to get the other end of the pitch right. I've only got 1 clean sheet, and that's down to me. I've been known as a defensive coach, meaning I can organise teams to get a clean sheet. But at the same time, that takes a lot of training sessions. That takes a pre-season with a manager like myself, and that takes a lot of back four sessions. I haven't had the opportunity to do that, so I'm just going along with the ride at the moment. And if we keep creating the chances that we're creating, I'll take 3-1 any day of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on then, Saturday, long trip to South Shields, back to your area of the country.
Born in South Shields now.
Yeah, they're sitting pretty at the top of the table at the minute, so obviously going to be a tough test. But what have you said to your players after the game for Saturday?
We've got to go in there with no fear. We've got to go in there. I went there last year with Kidderminster Harriers and we won 5-0. Now we won 5-0 for a couple of reasons. We were on a breath of fresh air run, and Shields were looking around for a result and scratching around for a result. Consequently, the manager lost his position. Now, having said that, my club, South Shields, if you want to call it, I think they've had 5 promotions in 7 seasons. It's just been an unbelievable, unprecedented success that they've had under Jeff Thompson's tutelage. We've got to go there and upset it. We've got to go there and express ourselves. We've got to go there and believe that if we play that type of football, we'll be a match for anybody at this level. And just because you look at the league table and one's at the top and one's near the bottom doesn't automatically give them 3 points. You know, we're going to go there with a game plan, and already started talking about it with Billy and Charlie after the game. With their formation, and they're quite fluid and they cause problems with formations, but formations have never won a game of football. In my opinion, it's the mentality and the attitude of the players that you've got, and if you've got better players in certain areas of the pitch, you've got a chance of winning it. You're not got a chance of going there and winning the game, but you've got a chance of upsetting the odds, and that's what we're going to try and do. It's as simple as it gets.
Well, let's hope we take these performances back here into that game on Saturday, and good luck with that, and congratulations tonight.
Thank you very much.